طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد. Pillars of marriage. What is meant by pillars of marriage? Everything in Islam has pillars, has conditions, has mandatory things, has voluntary things. So scholars segregate, scholars classify things in order to make things more easy. So marriage, as anything else, as everything else, has pillars. What is the first pillar? The existence of what? Of the man and woman. Is it a pillar? Huh? It is. How can you have marriage? A brother comes to me and says, I need you to make a marriage contract. Okay, Bismillah. Where is the wife? Doesn't exist, but make one. You have to have both, man and woman. If someone comes and says, I'd like to marry Sister Khadija. Says, MashaAllah, okay. Where is she? She died 2 years ago. They have to exist. They have to be there. Then the second pillar is the existence of the offer proposal from the guardian. We always mix things up. We always think that I, as a man, propose. My uncle, can you give me your daughter in marriage? He says yes. The Islamic way is the opposite. The one who proposes is the guardian. So he says, my son, I give you my daughter in marriage. And the man says, I accept her marriage. And that is why it's a big issue in the books of fiqh. They say that it has to be initiated by the guardian. And it has to be initiated, as told to you yesterday, with 2 words only. أَنْكَحْتُكَ أَوْ زَوَّجْتُكَ. Here, the man making the contract, does he have you say these words in Arabic, or you say it in your language? Arabic, raise your hand. Okay. And your language? 5, 6. And the rest are not married, or they forgot? Or it's a nightmare, Sheikh, don't remind me. Don't remind me. No, you have to remember. You have to. Okay, probably it's a different school of thought. However, the majority say you have to have this initiated in this fashion. The offer proposal has to be from the guardian, which is called ijab in Arabic. So it's ijab and qabul. It's always like this, ijab and qabul. Acceptance is from the groom. I used to always consider a groom, due to my English, which is very bad, I used to always say broom. So the broom has to, he has actually a broom. He becomes, at the end of the marriage, a broom. His wife sweeps the floor with him. Anyhow, alhamdulillah. The acceptance has to be from the groom. Now, the majority of schools of thought say it has to be like this. To the extent that they say if it was not said in this way, your marriage is void. You have to repeat the marriage again. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and by the way, this is not the only thing that requires ijab and qabul. What also requires ijab and qabul? Transactions. So if I go to the market and the man says, I tell him, how much is this? He says, 1 riyal. So I said, oh, and he said, I'll sell it to you. He has to say, the ijab. What does ijab means? No, yes, good. In Arabic, jawab means answer. Ijab means to obligate, from wajib, from wujub. So what do you mean? When I say, I sell you, this is ijab, I'm making it mandatory. If you accept, khalas, it becomes mandatory. So I say to him, I sell you this for 1 riyal, and he says, I accept, or I buy, or okay. Khalas, it's done. And this in transaction, as stated before, it's a word of tongue. Islam, it's sufficient for me to sell my car to Imtiaz without having the car with me, without him giving me the money. If I say to him, I sell you my car for 1,000,000 rupees, because he might say yes. So then if I tell him 10,000 rupees, he said yes, and so he says, I accept. Transaction is done, khalas. 3 days later he said, tell you what, I changed my mind. He cannot change his mind. As long as we have departed, I went out and he went out, transaction is finished. He said, Sheikh, I didn't receive any car. Your problem. You want to take the car, take it now, take it tomorrow. The transaction has been done, finalized. Likewise, in marriage. Now, the majority say it has to be in this format. However, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah say that this is not authentic. It happens, the transaction, the marriage, with whatever people agree upon. So as long as it is acceptable and there is the consent, it happens. So if I go and someone says, sell me this for 1 riyal, and I say, I accept. Now the ijab took place from the one buying, and the transaction is correct. If the man says to me, uncle, give me your daughter in marriage, and I say, I accept, it's okay. It takes place. But just to be safe, it should be the other way around. You should always make it from the guardian, and the acceptance is from the groom. Among the conditions is that they must be free from obstacles that prevent them from marrying, such as being mahram and okay, existence, hijab, qabul, okay. Now there are conditions. These are not the pillars. Pillars we threw off. What is meant by conditions? A condition is something that is required in a contract, in a form of worship. If it is not present, then the contract is void. But if it is present, the contract may happen and it may not happen. Meaning, I'll give you an example of conditions of prayer. One of the conditions of prayer, ablution. So, if I say Allahu Akbar and I did not perform wudu, is my prayer valid? No. If I go and perform wudu, do I have to pray? No. I may pray and I may not. So in Arabic, they say that the definition of ash-shart ma yalzamu min adamihi adam, which means that a condition is what, if not found, then this means nothing is found. If wudu is not there, then prayer is not there, it's not accepted. But when found, that does not mean something has to be found or not. The possibility is there. Let's see, one of the conditions of marriage is that the absence of obstacles. So, obstacles such as being mahram. One of the conditions, I cannot marry my sister. I cannot marry my aunt. I cannot marry my daughter-in-law, my mother-in-law. So we have a number of mahrams, 7 from your blood and 7 or so from marriage, as mentioned in Surah An-Nur. So one of the obstacles is being a mahram. And how is it possible to be a mahram? Either through being married to or from, or being a blood relative, or from suckling. If I have a sister, if I have a woman that her and I were suckled by XYZ, a woman, when we were below 2 years of age. So now we're what? We're brother and sister. This is one of the obstacles that prevent me from getting married. Among the obstacles is that I marry a woman in her iddah. How is that? A woman was widowed, and 2 months after her husband died, I propose to her. She accepts, I get married. What's the ruling of this marriage? It's void, because there is a clear obstacle, which is that she is in her iddah. Anything else? I think this is, inshallah, clear. Any questions regarding this condition? Okay. The second condition is that we must identify the people getting married, specifying the man and the woman with a description that makes it clear to the witnesses. So if a man comes and says, Sheikh, I'd like to marry your daughter, and I say, I accept. Or I tell him, I give you my daughter in marriage, and he said, I accept. And in the wedding night, he doesn't know which daughter. And I bring him any of my daughters, for example. Is this acceptable? No. There has to be a specific person or a specific description. So I tell him, if I have 2 daughters, I give you my youngest daughter in marriage. No problem, because this is a description that you cannot say, no, ya Sheikh, you said the youngest. This is the youngest. I have youngest and oldest. I don't have a third one. They have only 2, so 1 and 2. It has to be specified, and it has to be pointed out, so that the witnesses, if they were called into court, and they say, did you witness the marriage? I said, yes. Who got married? I don't know. Who's the father of the girl? This is the father of the girl. How many girls does he have? Did you see her? No. Do you know her name? No. This is not allowed. This is a condition that she is to be specified. Why? So that there is no confusion happening. Even when you buy and sell, there are 3 types of, and because this is all contracts, there are 3 types of, or 3 reasons that a lot of transactions are haram. They're based on either gharar, riba, or dhulm. These are the 3 reasons, main reasons that any transaction would be haram. What do we mean by riba? Interest. We don't have to go into this. Gharar, meaning that there is a margin of error, of confusion. So if I tell you, this is Christian Dior, by the way, very expensive. I sell you what's in my wallet for 5 rupees. How many would say, I'll buy? Everybody. Now, is this permissible in Islam? No, because I can open it and there is nothing in it. And I can open it and there's 100,000 rupees in it. This is haram. This is gharar. Likewise, if I have a cow, and I'm in a country other than India, where I can sell cows. You can sell cows here? Okay, alhamdulillah. So I have a cow, and the cow is pregnant. And I tell you, I'll sell you what's in that cow's womb for 100 rupees. Permissible? No. Why? You don't know if it's a twin, if it's alive, if it's healthy. You don't know what the outcome. And even if I'm happy with the 100 rupees, once it gives birth to a healthy little cow, how would I feel? Devastated. Because if I waited, I could have sold it for 100,000 maybe, or less or more. In marriage, it's the same thing. You go and you propose and they accept, but you don't know which one you're marrying. There is one that is beautiful, and there is one that is blind, and there is one that is insane. So, what will you have? This is unknown to you, and that is why it is haram for you to go through such a marriage without a description. One of the conditions that is required, the acceptance. So if one of them did not accept, the marriage contract is okay, providing they approve. What do we mean by acceptance? That the boy accepts the marriage. Sometimes you go and work in Canada or in America, you come back home for vacation, and the father says, Alhamdulillah, I got you married last year to so-and-so. What kind of a gift is this? Khalas, she's your wife, take her. No, I did not give you the power of attorney. And I don't accept her marriage. The marriage then is void. Likewise, it happens with the girls a lot. So the father says to his daughter, I gave you in marriage to our neighbor so-and-so. Can the father do this? No. The approval of the girl is essential. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ said that the virgin is to be ordered, and the non-virgin is to be requested and asked. And the companions asked more, and the Prophet said the virgin acceptance is when she does not comment. And scholars say that the majority of virgins and young girls, when their father say, Wallahi, so-and-so proposed to marry you. So what do you think? Usually, a virgin who's young and shy and bashful would look down and smile. Nowadays, how much does he earn? How does he look? No, I have to know. Does he have a car? Does he play sports? Does he enjoy traveling? I want one. A lot of the virgins are like this nowadays. They're so outcoming and they ask questions that make the father blush. Allah, daughter, I don't know. I can't answer these questions. So, the Prophet was talking about the norm, where such girls are usually bashful and shy, and they don't comment. So that is why scholars say their acceptance is by not saying anything. This is approval. But if she starts to cry, she doesn't say anything, and she cries and cries and cries, is this acceptance? No. The scholars say you have to look. If there's something wrong in what she is doing, then definitely I will not pressure her. But she has to approve of it. And that is why at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a woman came to the Prophet and said, O Prophet of Allah, my father gave me in marriage to his cousin or to his nephew, so that he would elevate any humiliation, because he's his nephew, his blood, and no one is giving him in marriage, so he forced me to marry him. The Prophet said, ﷺ, he has no right to do that, and you can, if you wish, reject the marriage. It's void. To that extent. The woman said, no, I accept the marriage, O Prophet of Allah, but I wanted my sisters to know their rights. This is your right. Now, the girls, so many times, I've mentioned this yesterday and I mention it today again. So many times, they are forced. If the father does not fear Allah Azza wa Jal, he insists and he's angry and he shout and he may beat her. You have to marry this one. Man, I've committed myself and I will not accept no for an answer. You have to, it's a must. And she says, I'm forced. No, you're not forced. Don't destroy your life. Do not obey your father. But this is a form of worship. I'm getting closer to Allah if I obey my father, not in this. If your father tells you sweep the floor, sweep the floor. A form of worship. If he tells you do the dishes, do the dishes. If he tells you don't go to school, do not go to school. You have to obey him. If he tells you marry someone you do not want, do not marry him. You will be destroying your life. Now, this is a very sensitive question. Who among the sisters now is married against their will? MashaAllah. That's good. Or they're lying. But inshallah, no. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, people are more educated. They have more fear of Allah. It's very rare. It may be found in Saudi Arabia in villages, in tribes that live in the desert. where would the girl go? No other alternative. But nowadays, alhamdulillah, people are more educated, they fear Allah more. So, alhamdulillah. However, this does not mean all forced marriages are bad. Because even if she was forced, the father knows what's best for her. And after a year or two, she says, Jazakallah khair, father, for such a man. This happens. The same happened with Aisha. She was married to the Prophet when she was, alayhi salam, 6 years of age. And the marriage was consummated when she was 9. Did she complain? She was blessed with such a marriage because it was the right choice. Now, I had a point in my mind I wanted to elaborate on, but yallah, it will come inshallah. Among the conditions to have 2 witnesses or more. And the majority of schools of thought, they say two witnesses or more. But Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah says that the two witnesses are not enough. And what is supposed to take place is the declaration. Because if I get married to a woman and I bring my cousin and my second cousin to be witnesses and no one else knows, is this appropriate or accepted? No. The Prophet ordered the companions to announce the marriage with, what is this? Duf. With a duf, which is a musical instrument. And all musical instruments in Islam are forbidden, with the exception of duf in 3 situations: marriage, Eid, and receiving someone of dignitary, of high status in Islam. We receive them. So, not my brother who studies in America, he came, I play the duf. No, he has to be someone of importance in Islam, like a king, like a scholar, like etc. But not any Tom, Dick, or Harry. So, the issue of 2 witnesses is not intended. That what is intended is to declare. Now, someone may ask, okay, Sheikh, I have 1 wife, and if I marry a second wife, she will kill me. Or she will make my life hell. So what is the ruling if I go and marry someone, and her family know, and I declare it in her family, but my part of the family don't know anything about it, and I live like this? Is this marriage correct? Come on, don't be chickens. Is this marriage correct? Yes. The declaration is done. When I say declaration, I don't have to go to Russia and say, Alhamdulillah, I got married. I declare it to a group of people and they know. But is it advisable? No. I have friends, a lot. And every 3 or 4 years I discover that they've been married for 5 years. I don't know except after 4 or 5 years. And when they announce it, it would be very late. It would be too late because the harm has been done. His first wife is seeking divorce. Why? It's not the marriage, she says. It's the betrayal. 5 years. I don't know about him being married. And now he tells me. Therefore, if you want to get married, put everything on the table, regardless of the consequences. In Arabia, we have, not Arabia, in Syria and elsewhere, they have customs, you know, the old Jahiliyyah way of thinking. They say that the groom, on the wedding night, he brings a kitten. And he holds the head of the kitten and the body of the kitten and he splits it in front of the wife, so that she knows who the man is. One of the friends, he said, I did this, and she took the kitten and she did this in front of me. And since then, alhamdulillah, we have no problems. So, no, akhi, if you want to do it, some of the brothers, And I'm not advocating marrying a second wife, but I'm not opposing it at all. It is not a delicacy. It is not something, accessories that you buy and put in the home. It is a hell of responsibility. I know. And when people ask me, Ya Sheikh, wallah ya akhi, you're lucky. What do you think? It's 5 minutes at the end of the night? It's 5 minutes? It's too long. Oh, mashallah.